Hello, welcome back to the sewing room. I'm Laura, and today I want to talk to you about hems in knit fabrics. So let's get right to it. So, after basically one day of ignoring all my other responsibilities and sewing, this dress is mostly done. There are some things that made this pattern extra fast and easy even for a dress with a waist seam. Now, whenever you're choosing to go for maximum speed, you would probably choose something without a waist seam so that you don't have that extra little bit of work to do, but for a dress with a waist seam, this is very, very fast and easy for a couple of reasons. We have bands here instead of having to do any other kind of finished or turned hem or other kind of hem on the neckline and the shoulders. There are no sleeves, so that's always going to save you a lot of time. The waistband is really interesting. The waistline is interesting in that it's stitched and then there's a little interior elastic holding it a little closer to the body, which helps support their truly massive skirt. I was a little worried. I was like, how is this thing gonna fit? But the waist helps a lot. The waistline elastic helps a lot. Now, if you're following this exact pattern and you're trying this exact dress, I did not follow the directions for the waistline. I know, shocker. Their idea is that you're going to basically stitch a casing from the seam allowance and then put elastic inside. I personally think that that would be very annoying because the elastic would end up twisted. So instead of doing it that way, I took lingerie elastic and just carried it along the inside with a triple zigzag stitch. So anyway, all I have left to do with this is the bottom hem and the hem at the slit. And you'll see, so this is about hemming. But what's great about this particular knit dress this was an early on knit project for a sewer, is that none of the parts of the dress that need a hem need to stretch. So basically any method you like that's going to control the edge well enough for you to stitch it is going to be a great finish. You don't have to be stressed out about making sure that that hem edge is stretchy, because the only edges that are getting hemmed are the slit in the skirt and the really large circumference around the skirt. So I'm going to show you how I'm using this tape to help support the slit, and then I'm going to show some tips about hemming. The one thing I could do that is not in the pattern but I might end up doing if this doesn't start behaving better is I wouldn't mind a line of top stitching, basically holding down the seam allowances on these bands, because they're just, right now they're not really behaving, but you just never know, maybe it will sort itself out, or maybe I'll decide I don't care. But I will show you the same tip technique that I'm going to use for the bottom hem could be used to help control those seam allowances, so stay tuned. I'm actually going to stop myself here and say that I don't know if I made it super clear what I meant by does this hem need to stretch. So let's analyze a couple of different patterns and see how that works. All right, let's start with one of my favorite patterns. I've made this several times under its old pattern number. I believe it was 6886 and now it's 8058. It's the same pattern, it's just a different number. And what's interesting about this pattern is it does use some techniques that make it a little bit easier to make. You do still need stretchy hems. For instance, if this lower hem didn't stretch at all, you would almost definitely pop some stitches if you had to, get in and out of a car or even really sit down. It is a pretty narrow, slim skirt, so you want a little stretch there. You definitely want stretch at the arms. And what's interesting about this pattern is at the neckline, it looks like a band neckline, but it's not. It's actually turned under and top stitched. So you also want that to be at least a little bit stretchy, or you probably would get it over your head, but it wouldn't lay right on the body if it were not stretchy when the fabric around it is stretching. So this is an example of a pattern that needs quite a bit of give in all of the places where the garment ends, at the neckline, at the sleeve, at the armhole, and at the hem. So that's you know, work out your stretchiness that you need for the fabric and for the technique you're using before you embark on this pattern. All right, slight clarification here. Patterns E and F of this pattern have a V neckband. It's not just a little turned hem here. This actually does have a neckband for the V neck, which is nice because honestly you'd have a really tough time doing a turned and stitched V neck shape. Alright, now this is the pattern I just made in that pink dress, and this is an example of a pattern that doesn't need a lot of stretchy hems because this does use both a neckband and a sleeve band, and then the skirt is very, very full, so you actually don't need any stretch in the skirt at all. So whatever method you use to finish your hems with, this one is going to be really forgiving even if your hem doesn't have any stretch, as long as you can get it to lay properly and basically stay in place after you've stitched it. You're going to have a really good time with this kind of pattern. Alright, here we are at the ironing board, and basically the issue with the slit is that if I just, you know, turn it under, press it, and then try to stitch it down as I would a woven, it's going to be a little hard to control because this fabric does stretch in both the horizontal and the vertical direction. So what I've done is I've taken my my stay tape, my knit stay tape. You don't want to use woven stay tape here because you want to still have a little give. And I've basically just basted it in with a straight stitch with the sticky side going out. So then when I fold it under at the seam allowance and then I'm going to press it, that will stick these two layers together a little bit and give me a nice firm foundation to stitch on at the sewing machine. Alright, so that's all pressed. My goal here is to take my twin needle, which I hope you can see, and basically at the machine stitch so that hopefully that line of twin needle stitching basically hopefully falls right in the same line as my serging. Now if you don't have a serger, this will work fine just the same way. I have one and so I used it. So what I'm looking here is I'm looking to see this is 3/8 of an inch from my needle that's going to be to the right on the machine. So let's set that up and I'll show you how that works. I hope this angle works for you guys because this is finally an angle where I can sew without being worried about kicking the tripod. So hopefully. I am thinking when I do the hem on the skirt, it will probably be pretty narrow, more like here. So I do want to leave, I think I want to leave a little bit of this unstitched to give me room. I can't decide. Maybe I'll just stitch it and take it out if I decide I want to take it out. And yes, this is 2 colors of pink thread because I can't be bothered. And you know, I'm deciding I like it. Now with a twin needle, you do want to sew basically as slowly as you can bear, because think about all the work that bobbin is doing under there between these 2 needles. So don't rush things. The suspense is killing me. I'm just gonna feel it. Oh, actually, it's not perfectly flat. It's not perfectly flat, but it's pretty good. I don't feel like I can really pivot with the twin needles, but I'm just going to kind of try to take a gentle curve. Just going to walk through this part. bad. I'm going to take a quick press and see, or steam and kind of flatten it with my hands to see if I can get that a little better, but that looks pretty good. This is actually a really good lesson for me. On one side, it actually looks really good. I'm actually super happy with this one. On this side, you can see this pretty deep tunneling. What's the difference? Well, on one side, I'm solidly within my little seam allowance here. You can actually see the darker gray is the gray woolly nylon, which also means that I'm actually I know I'm on top of my knit stay tape here. On the other side, I'm slightly closer to the edge. It's still able to hold, the edge is holding, but that close to the edge I know is off of my tape. So on tape looks great. Not on the tape does not look as great. So it's a word to the wise. I would rather end up a little closer to the edge and know that my result is going to look a lot nicer than end up right on the edge and know that my result's not as good. So again, this is showing a very, very light fusible interfacing, and especially a knit stay tape is going to give you a better result when you use a twin needle for your hem. Oh, I am a little nervous. I've never used double needle on this machine before. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little test stitch. And I think that would be here. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So just like anytime you're doing anything new with the machine, you want to hang on to those tails and then maybe just take a couple of steps with just the hand wheel before you really hit the gas. So far, so good. All right, that's probably enough of a test. Now, every machine will have a different setup for using a twin needle. Check your manual to see how you're supposed to do it with yours. But it's a great little trick. So here's the front. Let me get to where I can see if it's in focus. It might be too close. Let's find out. There's the front. I'm getting a little bit of what's known as tunneling, which is where you get a raised, there's like a raised area in between the two lines of stitching, so I'll have to adjust my machine for that. But on the back, I'm actually, yeah, you can see it's too tight. The tension is definitely too tight in the back, so I need to fix that. I am trying something I have never done because the book that I trust says to, which is use woolly nylon in my bobbin and hand wind it, so we will see how it goes. If this works, I will be excited, but I'm not gonna lie and say this isn't talking me into considering buying a cover stitch machine. Because this is not my favorite thing. I gotta say, this is not my favorite thing. Alright, test 2 with the woolly nylon. Way better. Still not perfect. Still not perfect, but way, way better. Still just a little tight at the bobbin area. But actually that's not bad. Let me go to where I can make sure you can see it. I think this color is too exciting for this camera to work. Actually, let me turn off the light. Actually, it looks pretty good. So from the front, it looks like 2 rows of stitching. Well, it is 2 rows of stitching. Still a little bit more dimension there than I love. And then in the back, it looks like a zigzag. And the size of that zigzag will depend on how wide, how far apart the 2 needles are. And it might behave even better in the area that I've stabilized. So let's take a look. Oh, let's try that. Now another option for hemming is wash away Wonder Tape, which, as fans of the channel will know, I use a lot for all kinds of things. And I'm just using a small piece here because I'm kind of low and I don't want to run out. But basically, if you pretend this is my hem and I haven't even finished this edge at all, again, it's a knit, it won't ravel. And I'm just going to use the edge of the tape kind of as my guide for folding. And the nice thing is, if I mess this up, if I fold it too deep or too shallow, or I'm having a hard time keeping it even, is that you can reposition it. And I'm not even going to press that edge, but you can see it's already kind of a nice edge. The advantage of wash away Wonder Tape versus any other stabilizer is that it will, as the name sounds, wash away. So you won't have like a papery or a heavy edge to this. But I'll show you the results. I'll sew a little bit on the machine to show you how it looks. All right, and now you can see. Hope you can see. Let's zoom in. On the right here, we have where the wash away Wonder Tape was. And as you keep going to the left, here's where it wasn't. Much nicer edge where we had the tape taping it together versus not. And from the underside, looks like that. So yeah, that's a pretty nice little option, especially for a narrow hem like this. Alright, so unluckily for me and luckily for you, I actually ran out of my favorite hemming notion while I was hemming this skirt because it is big. I'm all out of Wonder Tape. I need to do an order. That's like, I can kind of handle being a little bit out of needles, or maybe, having a thread I'm low on. I cannot handle being out of wash away Wonder Tape. I use it for so many things. So this is my little reminder to myself to go get more. And you can kind of see I'm almost out of the ivory knit stay tape. Now on a garment of this color, would it really be the end of the world if I had to use white or even black? No, but I don't like to be out of it because sometimes it really is the best product for the job. So I will change the camera angle and show you the part of this hem that I did with the wash away Wonder Tape versus the part I did with the stay tape, and you'll see the difference. The stay tape was definitely the correct notion to use on the slit in the skirt, because I definitely wanted really firm, stable area. And what I love about this stay tape in particular is that it also gives you a really good edge to press against when you're pressing something that you really want to stay flat. This will help keep things really flat. The wash away Wonder Tape is great at keeping things flat as you're stitching, but maybe not like forever, because it's designed to wash away. This is permanent. It stays forever in the garment. So it gives you a nice clean edge that you can use that just stays flat. It's really, really nice. That's kind of the main gripe people have in my experience with knits, is that they don't stay the way you put them. This stuff will make sure they stay where you put them. So anyway, I'll change the angle and show you the different parts of this hem that were made two different ways. Okay guys, I really should have marked it, because after I stitched it, when I was stitching it, I thought I would be able to tell which part of this hem I did which way. And honestly, I can't tell. Neither one shows to the outside. We'll see after wash and wear if there's one little, 8-inch portion of this hem that lays differently than the rest, but right now I honestly cannot tell which part I did with which notion, which is, good news. Thank you so much for stopping by today. As usual, I am very nervous recording the outro for some reason, but again, let's live in the awkwardness together. I hope that this series is helping make knits a little bit less scary, and happy sewing. Thanks, so bye.